Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV. Yeah, back here in Hien's throne room, I guess, where we are here to report, and apparently we're not the only ones. I come to represent the lands of Naxxia. Long have we struggled in defiance of the Empire, waiting for just such an opportunity as this alliance presents. The fall of Rabanasta was not the end of our nation. We who survived retreated underground and have been gathering strength to mount a counter-offensive. Dalmasca will rise again. After the humbling at your hand, Magna and the Oni have spent every waking moment upon the training fields. Defeat does not sit well with the son and his children. The Imperials have enjoyed the freedom of the Ruby Sea for long enough. 'Tis time they paid their dues. We of the Blue Kojin will not submit to the Empire's tyranny. If only our Red Brethren would awaken to their folly. Alone, Doma could accomplish little against the Empire, but in concert with the allies we've gathered here today, we might do much. Seiryu, you have arrived in time to witness the beginning of our new alliance. Our proposal struck a chord with many of our neighbors, I'm pleased to say. Greetings, my friends. I was just discussing future endeavors with the members of our newly formed alliance. The Kojin and the Confederacy you already know, and it was your own strength of arms that won the cooperation of the StB tribes. We also have been joined by our neighbors from Naxxia and the indomitable citizens of Dalmasca, though the scattered nature of the latter's resistance will somewhat delay their official induction. These proud peoples have united under a single purpose, to stand against the tyranny of a Garlean empire. I'm glad to see your alliance is coming together so swiftly. As things stand, I fear we shall soon have need of your strength. I thank you for bringing me news of Alphinaud. His fate is never far from my thoughts, not only because of he's our emissary. As for the sudden deployment of Imperial forces, I agree that Ala Mhigo would be wise to shore up its borders with all haste. Every report we receive from our shinobi indicates a massing of troops in the western provinces. It seems all but certain that the Empire is poised to bring its fist down upon Eorzea. And I would help deflect that blow, but I cannot risk sending reinforcements just yet. We will remain vulnerable to airborne assaults until the wall in the burn is in place. The all-important Allagan energy barrier. The energy barrier, yes. I thought to call it something more auspicious, a name drawn from the four lords of legend, perhaps. Seiryu's Aegis or some such. Well, just a thought. The ironwork engineers report they have finished calibrating the generators and are ready to proceed to the testing stage. Have you time to attend the first test? You've seen the field which protected Azizlar firsthand, and I would be interested to hear how you think ours compares. I will come too if you don't mind, though I'm no Y'shtola, I may be able to offer some insight. Of course, time being of the essence, it would be best if we made directly for the burn. Yugiri, I leave you and Takuru to bring the war council to a close. Understood. Your mounts are settled and ready, my lord. Wear the storms. You obviously have some idea what to expect, having seen the barrier at Azizlar, but having not had the pleasure myself, I'm exceedingly curious to see a wall capable of keeping out one of those massive Imperial airships. As expected, Suinosado failed to answer the call. Not that I blame the Ruby Princess. Enlightened as she is reputed to be, it could be no easy task persuading her people to relinquish her long-held isolation. Well, she's working on it. If you can but block the Garlean airships, the speed with which they deploy their forces will be greatly diminished. We will cross the burn by Yol and Falcon as before. Join me at the overlook near the House of Affairs. Let's pray there are no sandstorms brewing out there. Give a word when you're ready to take wing.
It seems the engineers have matters well in hand. Should the barrier work as we intend, Doma will be free to reinforce her allies in Ala Mhigo without fear of weakening her own borders. Honored friends, the time has come to put your hard work to the test. Start the generator.
Node 1 is operational. Nodes 2 to 8 are reporting similar energy levels. The barrier is forming. $1,000 yards, 2,000, 3,000. Expansion remains smooth. No fluctuations detected. $4,000, 5,000. Target altitude reached. The barrier is holding steady at 5,000 yards. We've done it.
Is that an Imperial airship? Of all the rotten timing.
But this is a gift, Mistress Alize. They can test our new wall for us. Seems solid enough, though I was hoping for a fireball.
Shadowhunter bringing Alphino.
By the gods, it's Alphino. What are you? Let me go! He has my brother!
Lower the barrier!
Be at ease, girl. The lad is not dead, merely locked in slumber.
No, not him too.
We could identify no cause and found no remedy. Thus I sought to return him to Doma, and into the arms of Lord Hien himself, it would seem. It is a day for fated reunions. Would you not agree, adventurer? Or should I address you as the Warrior of Light?
Gaius van Belsa.
Aye, Gaius van Baelsar, the Black Wolf. That was the title I was given, one I have long since relinquished. Stand down. The legatus of the 14th Imperial Legion died in Castrum Meridianum. I am no more than Gaius Baelsar, a man without rank or allegiance.
Impossible! There's no way you could have survived!
Do you remember how it unfolded? How I was deceived by La Habrea? How I was convinced that reviving the Ultima weapon would allow me to bring peace to Eorzea? The Ascian used me, as he used so many others, all to further the restoration of his wretched god. Yet even with the might of Alec at my command, you bested me. And as the Praetorium went up in flames, I was content to burn along with it. For a moment at least. A moment of folly. To surrender my life thus would have been to betray all who died for my cause. It was for them that I dragged myself free of the rubble, and swore vengeance on the Ascians. The Black Wolf has shed his pelt, never to return to Garlemald or her legions. I live now only to exact revenge. My principal quarry was to be La Habrea, whom I gather you have since ushered onto oblivion.
Yep, thanks to Forden.
But so many more remain. Long as their kind lurked in the shadows, laboring to sow chaos throughout our world, I would see each and every one dragged into the light and put to the sword. Are the Scions not of like mind?
In this single respect, perhaps.
Then I shall continue the partnership the boy began, and share what intelligence I have acquired. Among the Ascians, the Black-Masked Ilk are subordinate to those who wear red. This you already know. Yet among the Red there exists a hierarchy. Those set adrift with the shards clearly stand below those still joined to the source. Nabriales, who once dared to intrude upon the Rising Stones, belonged to the former group, and while he was indeed a dangerous foe, his powers were inconsequential next to the paragons of the Source. The first was La Habrea, who plagues us no more. There is also the white-robed Elidibus, and the elusive Emmet Selk, about whom little is known.
We have files on La Habrea and Elidibus, but I believe this Emmet Selk is new to us? As I assume my brother told you, we have evidence to suggest that an Ascian now walks in the body of the Crown Prince. Have you identified this interloper?
Elidibus seems the most likely culprit. As emissary, it is his role to maintain the equilibrium between darkness and light. Your many deeds in Hydaelyn's name have upset the balance, and I believe he seeks to restore it by throwing his considerable power behind the Empire. As a leader of the Ascians, he is one of our primary targets. It was on the trail of this very prey that the boy and I came across the scene of a failed uprising. In the absence of a single Garlean casualty, we inspected the bodies of the rebels, and the lack of any external injury drew my immediate attention. They had been slain by Black Rose, an alchemical invention of the Imperial Army. When I yet served as legatus, I ordered its production halted, and all stockpiles destroyed. Toxic gas is not a tool of conquest, but of extermination.
Yeah. Gaius truly believed he was helping the people. And weapons of mass destruction are not helpful when you want peace.
Toxic gas? This must be the new weapon Maxima warned us about. Something deadly enough to sweep away all resistance in a matter of hours. Gods. You don't think they're planning to use this in Ala Mhigo, do you?
Put your fears to rest. We infiltrated the production facility and destroyed all existing stores of the chemical along with the plant itself. Even should they rebuild the operation, they will not soon manufacture another batch.
That is good.
Regardless, I would draw your attention to a directive we discovered in the plant's records. The document was marked with a recent date and authorized with the signature of one Zeno Galvas.
A dead man signing the death warrant for thousands. 'Tis bad comedy.
But the tale does not end there. Within that same facility was a chamber filled with devices of elegant design. Cloning technology, we realized. And what should we find in each and every incubator? But a young Emperor Solus.
The Ascian.
All of which prompts the question, were the Ascians responsible for these abominations, or was it the will of the Emperor? I must know which hand guides the Empire. Though I have given up my rank, I am yet a son of Garlemald, and I will fight for the future of my homeland. It is time I return to the hunting of shadows. We should focus on our common foe. To reopen old quarrels now would serve no purpose.
You saved my brother's life, so I'm willing to let sleeping dogs lie. But in truth, it's not my decision to make.
You're right, there are more important matters at hand.
There was a time when I scorned those who placed their faith in false gods, even as I, in my blinkered conviction, place mine in Ascian promises. Unlike yours, my strength of will and my restraint was found wanting. We shall meet again, warrior of light.
So that was the infamous Black Wolf. An unexpected ally, to say the least.
Indeed. But not an unwelcome one, at least in my opinion.
Well, I am content to leave the fine-tuning of the barrier to cleverer minds. Let us bid our friends from the Ironworks farewell, and see what can be done for Alphino back in Doma.
Alphonse safely escorted in a private chamber. My finest dealer is examining him as we speak. I've spoken with the physician and there are no outward signs of illness. Alphonse is lost in a sleep from which he cannot be awoken. Just like the others. It seems that even the lands of the Empire were not far enough away to escape that cursed voice. I share your frustration, Alice, I do, but Alphonse returned to us alive and otherwise unharmed. All that remains is to find the means to wake him. Until then, you can but fulfill your duties as a scion, yours and your brother's both. You're right, of course. There are arrangements to be made, and little time to make them. To business, my lord. Now that we know Seiryu's wall works as intended, can we expect reinforcements from Ala Mhigo? For Ala Mhigo? You most certainly can. As promised, we will send troops to bolster our allies in Eorzea without delay. Pray be aware, however, they will not arrive without delay. Save for some few who boast teleportation magics, the bulk of our force must be transported by sea. A lengthy voyage for which the smaller vessels favored by the Confederacy are ill-equipped. Accordingly, I mean to enlist the assistance of the East Aldenar Trading Company in finding suitable ships. As for navigating the distances in question, we are in the happy position of being able to call upon those who plotted the cause of my people's exodus to Eorzea. Beyond the procurement of ships, I think it unlikely that our East Aldenar friends will consent to any involvement in military operations. But I'm certain they will afford Alphonse a berth aboard one of their vessels. I shall have a chirurgeon accompany him every ilm of a way to the Rising Stones. You have my thanks, Lord Hien. Yugiri, I will go on ahead with our friends to Ala Mhigo, enlist all those capable of teleportation and put them at the disposal of the Eorzean Alliance as soon as possible. They will form the vanguard. Yes, my lord. This is exactly what we'd hoped for. These and the Alliance leaders will be glad indeed to welcome the combined strength of the East. Meanwhile, at the Black Rose chemical plant.
Our supplies of Black Rose have been ruined, but the new plant is already under construction. We should have the first batch ready in time for the offensive, Your Radiance.
See that you do.
Ah, yes, the infamous Black Rose. If I recall correctly, Gaius did not much care for the invention. A ruthless and indiscriminate weapon indeed, this airborne poison. It seems you are capable of making decisions worthy of your bloodline.
With no gift for sorcery, we Garleans must look to Magitech to even the odds. If it spares the needless deaths of our soldiers and serves the cause of this empire, there is no method I would not employ.
How very noble of you.
Truly, though, I must commend you for embracing your role as Emperor. You play the part of the determined ruler well. Sometimes even I catch myself believing.
Isn't he an asshole?
A silent agent of death. Now that I think on it, Black Rose may well possess the perfect aspect. Slowly but surely, the deluge of light has worked upon the ether here in the source, and the gas should be most susceptible to its influence. Well, I shall leave you to your own devices. Go forth and bloody the land with your grand and glorious war.
While you do what, precisely?
Need you ask? I will be doing what all Asians do.
I am well aware that your kind exists only to usher in the next calamity. But you seem oblivious to the harm your singular agenda causes to the Empire. You cannot have forgotten the events which followed your mortal demise. Our homeland was plunged into civil war for your failure to name a successor. The edifice you so carefully constructed was but a hair's breadth from collapse.
Are you truly so naive? You thought me oblivious to the consequences of a departure so painstakingly timed?
It was by design?
Well, of course it was. Though I will admit the resulting panic exceeded even my wildest expectations. But how can you be surprised? Throwing the world into disarray was the very purpose for which this nation was, as you say, so carefully constructed.
This is messed up.
Now, if you have no further questions, I must be on my way. Since we may not meet again in this lifetime, it would be remiss of me not to offer a word or two of gratitude. I really must thank you for this surplus of vessels. I can mold any host into my own image, but having bodies tailor-made for me in this fashion is so much less tiresome. You dabbled in elegant cloning techniques, yes? It certainly is a compelling, not to mention entertaining, field of research.
And of all the options available, you chose the founding father on whom to experiment. You have a twisted streak to you, Varus. Like grandsire, like grandson, hey?
How he's basically saying you are one fucked up bastard. I love it.
If events play out as planned, this will become something of a family enterprise. You will be the capstone of this world, I the anchor and shard, and together we will give the lie to this star's fraudulent existence.
Okay, time to end this episode, I think. Until next time then, when we play more Final Fantasy XIV, I am Ace, and don't get lost.